seems to me like this is more of a mob story that found some NBA players and a coach, former player, who were playing along. I mean, literally put out as like bait in the water to draw suckers in from all across America. But millions of dollars involved. What do you think?
Well, I do think that they said it was a multi-year operation. I like one of the names of the operation was called Operation Royal Flush. Sometimes they get kind of creative there. I thought Christopher Raya, who is the deputy director, I can't remember his exact title, the way he laid it all out was very impressive. And clearly, they had great coordination. They had no leaks, and this is a story. This is one for the ages, and we have great guests for you: Clay Travis, Donna Rotuno, former FBI supervisory agent James Gagliano, and Jim Gray. Thank you all for being here. Donna, let's maybe just go to you first on the legal front, since you were there right before this press conference. What did you take away? Big surprises? Anything?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of big surprises. Frankly, that sounded like we were watching a movie. I mean, just the amount of people involved, the extent at which they went to perpetrate this, from the fraud to the cameras under the tables to cameras in chandeliers to, it really did sound like we were listening to Goodfellas or something. It was really quite extraordinary. I think we have to remember there's two totally separate indictments here, and although they came out on the same day and there's some overlap, we have one dealing with NBA betting and then we have one dealing with crime families and poker games. And so there really are two separate issues to discuss here. And, they happen to come out on the same day, but they are two separate indictments, and we have to look at them separately, because the NBA betting, although they didn't talk about it as much, I think that's going to have a larger impact on society as a whole than even the poker games involving certain people and certain groups. But the betting has an implication on many people who bet on online gambling, platforms, and the trust that people have for regular fans. And I'm sure Clay will talk about this, but regular fans of the NBA, people who love sports, people who want to watch sports, people who want to believe that the game is not rigged. These have major implications.
Yeah. Let's give everybody a crack at the apple, and then we'll dive further in, Donna. Well done. James, what did you hear for the past 45 minutes?
Bill, I have to say, I think the lead was buried. I mean, they're going to show pictures of Jones and Rozier and Billups and the NBA logo, because obviously that's what kind of sucks everybody in, where you go, wow, these are rich people, they're famous people, and they were involved in an illegal gambling activity. Here's the buried lead. It's the fact that the mob is back. We've long thought of La Cosa Nostra, the five families of New York, and I worked on the Gambino squad when I was an FBI agent, as being on the way out. Well, 3/5 of them, only the Lucchese's and the Colombos are sitting down right now saying, how did we not get a piece of this? But this is a fascinating case, and 31 subjects in one of them and 6 in the other. This is going to be an interesting case to follow going forward.
Jim Gray, thank you for being here. The NBA cooperated. That was one of the last questions that we had there. And there's so many strings to pull. The sweater could unravel pretty quickly. Your takeaway?
Well, all of these sports leagues, and in this instance the NBA, are dependent on the games being real, not being fixed. Once you lose the confidence of the public that the games are not real and that they can be thrown, then you have just a huge, huge issue, and that's the biggest concern here. When you have a current NBA player who's involved, and Chauncey Billups now, not accused of throwing games or doing anything to rig that game, but playing in poker, it just eats at the credibility and the integrity, and it's very dangerous and very problematic.
Yeah. Clay, your take?
Two things. One, I bet there's some guys watching us right now who said, I knew I wasn't that bad at poker, the details here. This sounds like, I think Donna said it, a Hollywood movie in the rigged nature of the way the mafia was taking advantage of these guys. I mean, I jotted down, they called the quarterback, the guy sitting at the table who was signaling cards. They had the face cards, which were the athletes potentially drawing in these gamblers. And then in particular, Jess Tisch, who was with the New York Police Department, signaled out Terry Rozier. I jotted this down, guys. Told everybody he was going to leave the game early, left after 9 minutes. $200,000, she said, was wagered on the under. That is, that he's not going to be able to achieve whatever the prop bets were on that particular game. And then she said The proceeds were delivered to his house where they counted the cash. Now, $200,000, guys, sounds like a lot of money to normal people. He's making $26.6 million this year, Rozier is. He's made in his career $160 million. This is mind-numbingly stupid. He may be in prison for years now, but the dollars at stake here are a pinprick of what he made almost per game. So this is a mess for the NBA. And again, it goes to what Jim said. The integrity of the game itself is what fans rely on. And when you got players who are making decisions like this, you have to wonder how much bigger could this be.
James, I want to play for everybody here. This is the NYPD commissioner about the poker games and some of the shenanigans that were going on.
Victims believed that they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. One victim in particular lost $1.8 million. In total, losses exceeded $7 million and continue to climb. And when people refused to pay, these defendants did what organized crime has always done. They used threats, they used intimidation, and they used violence. It's the same pattern that we have seen for decades. Traditional mob enforcement methods combined with new technology to expand the reach of their operations.
James, there's so many different questions here. One, I think the sheer amount of coordination amongst all of the different entities is impressive, but also what you said earlier is something that we said while we were watching. Like, we thought the mafia had kind of gone away, and that's not the case. And sports betting was always something that was lingering out there, but now it's legal. So tell me a little bit more about how they reconstituted over the last several years.
Sure. So Dana, 34 years ago, a number of us FBI agents in the New York office stood along the same causeway right there when John Gotti was convicted of murder, extortion, racketeering, and illegal gambling activities. And you listen to how this happened. I mean, the violence that's attached to this, it's not just fraud, but the conspiracy also included Hobbs Act extortion. So this is straight out of Goodfellas. And to put a fine point on your question, look, the mob, La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, it's been around a long time. It came here to the shores when Italian Americans immigrated from 1892 to 1943 and ended up on Ellis Island. They are not going away. It's a game of whack-a-mole. The more that we put pressure on them, the NYPD, the FBI, and other groups get our attention, they come back and reconstitute.
All right, here's soundbite number 2, guys. This is a U.S. attorney. This is Joseph Nocella, okay? He's talking about the operation that they use. What you referred to, Clay. Listen here.
They used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table.
Donna, how much do you know about an investigation like that and what it entails based on time and manpower?
Oh, the amount of hours, the amount of manpower, the amount of subpoena power, the things that had to go into this were enormous. The amount of time spent, look at the number of people just standing at that press conference. I don't think we've ever seen a press conference with that many different areas of law enforcement and that many people involved. It's actually nice to see the agencies working together and being able to pool their resources and come up with these answers for us. This was really quite extensive, and I think we're going to see as this plays out and the evidence is revealed what truly went into this, and I think it's going to be extraordinary.
Jim, what do you think Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is thinking right now?
Well, I think he's beyond concerned. They just had 2 great nights in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama came back for the San Antonio Spurs, and we saw on opening night a double overtime game that was just terrific between the champion OKC team the Thunder against the Houston Rockets. And so now he's got this on his plate. And he made a comment in one of the interviews that he did that he had been working with gaming companies, or that the NBA had wanted to work with gaming companies on these prop bets. So he knows that it's an issue. And if you can believe these statistics, Dana and Bill, that are printed, $147 billion. $147 billion was wagered on sports in this country, $84 billion supposedly illegally. So the leagues used to have an arm's length from all of this, and in recent years, because of this proliferation, they've started to embrace it. Not their players, obviously, and the coaches, but the public, and putting up betting lines up. And so all of this has changed dramatically, very, very quickly. And what Clay said, this is really small amounts of money compared to what these guys are making, particularly in the case of Rozier. It's astonishing that somebody would risk going to jail, losing all of this money that they can make to bet on these things. It's insanity.
Yeah, to all of you, thank you. Clay, I know you'll be on the radio later probably talking a lot about this, but terrific stuff, guys.
Thank you.
Like, on-the-fly reaction there.
story.
We'll see where it goes. Thanks. We were sitting here talking about who's going to write this book.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to write the screenplay for it? There's more to be discovered here, I think. I mean, we're just scratching the surface here, and we'll
Because
see.
29 people were arrested, and
30, yes,
we know that
correct.
of 30. And Rozier is going to appear in court today, and probably others. So we're just at the beginning of this story, and it's a fascinating one indeed.
Yes, I thought that quote that Jessica Tish had, but Rozier's been under investigation in the past, and they cleared him. He said he's been benched not for injury, but for integrity. He'll be in Orlando today in court.
Indeed. All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.